Welcome to another episode of the From the Hash podcast. My name's Luke Woodyard, and I'm super excited for today's episode. Coming up, we've got the Super Bowl, which could have been a little better, but it's all right. We're going to talk about the Super Bowl. Then we got the fun fact of the day. We're going to have a little bit of Olympic talk, and then we're going to conclude with some rapid fire NBA trade deadline grades. We are starting off with the Super Bowl. And this game, in my opinion, did not live up to the expectations that the entire season and rest of the playoffs set. The Seahawks were just the better team, which I did predict, and they dominated the entire line of scrimmage. Kenneth Walker had a monster game, and I believe it was fair that he won the Super Bowl MVP in this. He was very deserving. He played really well. He had like 160-plus rushing yards. He controlled the ball. He was elusive. There were a couple plays where he had really good patience in the game. I remember seeing like he'd stop and then he'd go. Really good qualities of a running back right there. Jason Myers also impressed in the Super Bowl matchup. I mean, he had 5 field goals. Kickers don't really get Super Bowl MVP, but he was a big part of that. Like, you guys scored points to win the game, and he did his thing. And he's been there a while, so credit to him, credit to the Seattle Seahawks for keeping him around and making him one of the highest-paid kickers. Also, their punter, Michael Dixon, was fantastic. He had some really good punts. I believe he's the highest-paid punter in the league, and he put the Patriots in terrible field position. So, also, the Seattle defense was fantastic, in my opinion. You can't give MVP to the whole defense, but if you could, they probably should have gotten it over Kenneth Walker. But since it's one player, Walker is the right answer for that. They pressured him and they sacked him 5 times. So again, that domination of the line in scrimmage, the offensive line helping Kenneth Walker get all those yards, and then that defensive line getting to Drake May and sacking him 5 times. And Drake May just didn't look really good in this game. He was really inaccurate and he seemed rushed a lot, and it showed with just, the 2 turnovers by fumbling the ball, and then as well as the interception, which Roger Goodell did tell me that there would be a fumble. So credit to Roger for that. And then finally, I do think the Patriots had a really good defense this game. I wish I could talk more about the Super Bowl, but it wasn't as eventful as I wanted it to be. So I don't have a ton of thoughts on the game. But the Patriots defense was pretty good for most of the game. Darnold wasn't great. He did what he needed to do. He got the ball out quickly, but there were a couple times where he almost turned the ball over. So the Patriots did a good job. And Gonzalez also shut JSN down before he got hurt because he's a really good corner. And then lastly, just talking about the Super Bowl, I do want to say that back to the first episode, I said the Rams would win in my Call Your Shot. And so right here above me, you will be able to see that my record is now 0-1 in Call Your Shot. And real quick, we just got to give credit, because it's pretty cool that can happen right there. You can see above me. But also, you know what else is cool? It's gone. How about that? That's pretty sick. So shout out to Brock Nauman, the editor of this podcast. So thanks, Brock. Today's fun fact of the day is about the Olympics, because I thought it'd be perfect to talk about since we're in the Olympics right now. And I'm also going to talk about the Olympics after this fun fact. So I figured it'd be the perfect segue. So here's the fun fact of the day. Did you know that Beijing was the first city to host both the Winter and Summer Olympics? They hosted the Winter Games in 2022 and the Summer Games in 2008. All right. Now, time for the Olympics. And so I do want to say right off the bat, I don't know a lot about the Olympics. I don't feel as qualified to talk about the Olympics as I do the NFL and the NBA and other sports. But I still want to talk about it because it's really special. It's every 4 years. So I figured, why not talk about it on the podcast? First things first, I want to say I feel bad for the American alpine ski racer. Her name was Lindsey Vonn, and she crashed while competing on a torn ACL. I also want to give credit to her for doing that. That's really impressive. But it sucks that, her career probably ends that way because I believe she's 41 years old. So that's first things first. As of today's recording, which is Wednesday the 11th. Norway currently has the most medals with 13, and they also have the most gold medals with 7. The United States currently has 2 gold medals, and they have 8 overall, which puts them at 3rd place in the overall medal standings. And then they're looking to potentially add another medal here soon with women's hockey, where they have a really good chance, it seems like, to get gold, but they should at least medal, it seems like. And then I also want to say I'm really excited to watch the men's hockey, because hockey is one of the sports that I really want to start getting into more, because last year during the Four Nations face-off, I watched the entirety of the championship match between Canada and USA. I stayed up way past my bedtime on that one, and I really enjoyed it. I watched the whole thing. There was a lot of action. I've been to a hockey game before. It's really cool. So that's one of the sports I want to start to follow, and I'm excited for this, United States team this year in hockey in the Olympics, because it'd be really cool if they win that. And then, maybe we get another Miracle on Ice situation, which is a great movie and arguably one of the best, United States sports moments of all time. And then just lastly for this Olympics section, I would just encourage you guys to watch the Olympics. As like I said, it's once every 4 years, and these are some of the top athletes in the world. Plus, it is always cool to learn something new, as right now, I'm looking forward to learning more about ski mountaineering, which I have absolutely no idea what that is or anything at all, but it sounds cool, and I want to learn about it, and it'd be cool to watch it. So that's it for the Olympics section, and now we're going to finish today's time with a lot of NBA trade talk. It's going to be rapid fire style. So I've got about 14 trades I'm going to talk about. It'll be quick takes. There's going to be some that I'll probably give a little more thoughts on, but I want to talk about the trade deadline. There's a couple really good deals in there, and we're going to go rapid fire style. So that's coming up next. Okay, the trade deadline. The first trade I'm going to talk about, which happened in January but needs to be talked about, is the Trae Young trade, where he goes to the Washington Wizards for CJ McCollum and Corey Kispert. And so my quick thoughts on this is I would give the Hawks, kind of a B. They didn't really get any picks out of Trae Young's contract or anything. And it kind of just signaled that they're moving on from Trae Young. And so I just give them a B, just simple trade. They got McCollum. Corey Kispert's a decent shooter. And then the Wizards, I'm giving them a B+ because CJ McCollum wasn't going to do anything for them in terms of their future. Corey Kispert's a solid guy, but Trae Young will help sell some tickets, and he could be potentially a nice piece for their future roster. So Hawks a B, Wizards B+. Next trade is the Cavs and Kings, where the Cavs get the Cavs traded DeAndre Hunter to the Kings, and they got Keon Ellis and Dennis Schroeder, who's been traded 9 times in his career. He's been on half the teams in the league at this point. It's crazy. But I give the Kings a B on this one just because DeAndre Hunter, solid player, but they traded just 2 other solid players for just a better player. So, it's not – DeAndre Hunter's good. I just don't think this really moves the needle for the Kings franchise because they're a disaster. And then the Cavs, I actually give this a B+. When they traded for DeAndre Hunter, he helped their team, but it kind of screwed around their chemistry, and with the apron rules, they couldn't get Ty Jerome back. So this kind of gives them more depth in terms of Keon Ellis. He can shoot it a little bit, good defender. Dennis Schroeder should be a solid guard because Lonzo Ball didn't really pan out for them. So I give the Cavs a B+, Kings a B. Simple trade. All right, the next deal is the Pistons get Dario Saric and Kevin Huerter, and then Chicago gets Mike Conley and Jaden Ivey, which Chicago ends up trading Mike Conley later. So that doesn't even matter that much. But I give the Pistons an A- on this one because they get depth. Dario Saric is a solid little big man. He can shoot it. But Kevin Huerter is a really good shooter. So that helps their depth a lot in terms of, the postseason because everybody needs shooting in the postseason. I gave the Timberwolves also an A- on this one. They had to give up a first, but because they end up getting Mike Conley back and a future trade, I think, it's solid. they saved a lot of money, which is a big part, and they get Mike Conley back. And then the Bulls, I gave them a B minus, only because of Jaden Ivey, but I don't think they have very good direction as a franchise, as well as the Kings. But I just B minus for them. I don't have a lot to say. Now we go to a little bit of a bigger trade. You've got Jaren Jackson Jr., Jock Landale, John Conchar, Vince Williams Jr. to the Jazz for Walter Clayton Jr., Kyle Anderson, Taylor Hendricks, Georges Niang, and 3 first-round picks. So I gave the Grizzlies a B+ because they're signaling they're ready to move on from Ja, who they didn't trade, and as well as they traded Jaren Jackson Jr. And then they traded Desmond Bane in the offseason. So they're signaling a new era, and they got 3 firsts. Also, Walter Clayton's really young, and Taylor Hendricks is really young. So those guys could develop on their team. So I give the Grizzlies a B+ on that trade. And then the Jazz, I give them a B- because they're still trying to tank, but I guess they're looking forward to next season. I also think Jaren Jackson Jr. is slightly overpaid. He's a good player, but I don't know if I'd give up 3 firsts for the guy. Our next trade is Jared McCain going to the Thunder for a 2026 first-round pick and 3 seconds. I gave both teams – I give the Thunder an A because they haven't really traded for anyone with all those picks, and I don't think they lose anything by trading that pick. They can only get better with the Jared McCain guy, who's solid, but I don't love him, but I think he can grow. I mean, he's a second-year player, and he was pretty good. And then the Sixers, I give them an A-. I mean, they got a first-round pick, and he didn't have a great path to playing time because they have Maxey and VJ Edgecombe. So, all right. Next up is the Cavs swapping Garland for Harden. And this one, I actually have a lot more thoughts on this trade. So, I remember when I saw it, I was like, dang, James Harden wanted out. I was also confused as to why the Clippers would trade him, considering they were on a tear. Harden's been balling. He's averaging like 25-plus points per game. And it turns out he didn't request a trade. It was more of a mutual thing between them because of just he wanted a contract extension. They weren't willing to give it to him. And so they went younger. And I think Darius Garland is 10 years younger. He's 26. Harden's 36. So that gives them a future point guard, and he's going to have the ball in his hands a lot more. You know, he's had these feet problems, but I think he'll end up being healthy. So I like the trade for them, which is why I gave the Clippers an A-, just thinking long-term. And then for the Cavs, this is a good short-term trade. James Harden's going to help the team. It's going to keep Donovan Mitchell happy. They're going to have a good roster. They got a chance to win it all. But I'm just giving them a B because Harden has kind of shown that in the playoffs he is a choker. But I do think, like, it wasn't a bad trade for either team. And I think the Clippers won the deal. All right, these next 4 trades, I'm going to go through a little bit quickly. But the first one is the Lakers trading Gabe Vincent and a second-round pick to Atlanta for Luke Kennard. They're both on expiring deals. I gave the Lakers an A+. Luke Kennard is one of the best shooters in the league, so it helps their need of shooting. And then the Hawks, I just kind of gave them a B. They got a second-round pick out of Luke Kennard. It's not crazy, but Lakers A+. Next trade, Knicks get Jose Alvarado from the Pelicans. They traded Dalen Terry and 2 second-round picks. Pelicans, I kind of gave them a B-. They didn't really get much. I don't think Dalen Terry is a great player. And I give the Knicks an A+ because Jose Alvarado is a good guard, in my opinion. It'll help their team in the long run. After that, Kobe White goes to Charlotte for Colin Sexton, Dieng, and then they got 3 seconds. For this one, I gave the Hornets an A-. I really like Kobe White. He's 25. I like what the Hornets are doing right now. They're on a win streak, except for the last game, the big brawl, which we're not going to go into that. But I give the Hornets an A-. They're playing really well. You know, they're probably going to make the play-in now. Like, I like this trade for them. They get a little bit younger. For the Bulls, though, I think 3 seconds is great and all. I just don't really see, you know, the point in trading Kobe White. Like, he kind of fits their timeline, and then they're just getting another guard. Like, all they're getting is guards in all these trades, and I don't think it's going to help them at all. I don't see what they're trying to do. So I gave him a C. Next up is Minnesota. They got Io DeSumo from the Bulls, and then they also got Julian Phillips. And then Minnesota traded Rob Dillingham, who I'm a big fan of, even though he hasn't been as great in the NBA. And then Leonard Miller, and they also got 4 seconds. So I gave the T-Wolves an A- because they traded Mike Conley and Rob Dillingham, and they got Io, and they just got Io, and they got Mike Conley back. So I mean, I gave him an A-. I think 4 seconds isn't like crazy. For the Bulls, I just gave him a B. Like, I think Rob could be something, but again, it's another guard. And then the trade after that, another Bulls trade, is they traded Nikola Vucevic, which I kind of thought they would make a trade. They would trade him, and they got Anthony Simons. And I think with that one, if I'm the Celtics, I gave him a B+. It kind of gives them a good big man. They needed one. Like, Kata's been really good for them as a big man, and Vucevic is going to provide shooting, more experience, and just overall, he's a solid big man. I do think Simons, losing him kind of sucks for the Celtics, just because he had actually been playing really well, in my opinion, and he's just a good guard, and he could score the ball. But they saved money, which is something they've been doing like since the summer when they traded KP and Drew Holiday. And so I think I gave the Celtics a B+. I'm giving the Bulls just a B because Simons is on an expiring deal. So maybe he does something. But again, it's another guard they're trading for. They've traded for so many guards. Now we've got the last 3 trades, and these are some of the bigger ones, right? So the first one I'm going to talk about is the Pacers. They got Zubac and Kobe Brown, and then the Clippers got Benedict Mathurin, Isaiah Jackson, 2 firsts, and a second. And this one is kind of where I have maybe a couple different grades, because for the Pacers I put a B or an A because it's all dependent on that first-round pick. Pacers traded their 2026 first-round pick, but there's some protections on it. So if the Pacers get pick 1 through 4 or 10 through 30, they keep the pick. And this is a loaded draft class. So if they get to keep that pick, then clearly it's an A. Because Zubac is a really good center, in my opinion. He's going to be he's going to get a lot of rebounds, which is something Turner kind of struggled with in the playoffs. He's not a shooter, but he's going to be really good down low. He can guard, and he's going to be great in the pick and roll. On top of that, he's got a $20 million salary, which is really good for a big man of his quality. So I think that's great. It's just that pick, I really don't want to lose that pick. So I'm hoping we stay 1 through 4 and we get a Debanza or a Darren Peterson or Caleb Wilson or a Boozer. Like, I want one of those type of guys because this draft class is really phenomenal. For the Clippers, I gave them an A- just because if they get pick 5 through 9, that's great. And then without that, though, they still get 2 first-round picks for Zubac. And then I think Mathurin could be really good for them. He's going to get the ball a lot, just like Darius Garland. So that's my trade grades for them. Last 2 deals. Warriors get Kristaps Porzingis, and then the Hawks got Buddy Hield and Jonathan Kuminga. The Kuminga saga is finally over for the Warriors. I give them a B for Porzingis. He can help their team. He provides shooting when he's healthy. He plays really well, in my opinion. The problem has been he's just not very healthy. Like, he's had this sickness for like 2 seasons now, and he barely played anything for the Hawks. So I think if he's healthy, he's going to help the Warriors, but I just don't know how healthy he's going to be. And they didn't get any, I don't think they got any picks in the deal. I think it was just straight up. So I just gave the Warriors a B. Porzingis could do something. Maybe they, make a run at it, but I think the Warriors are kind of focused for the next few years potentially. And then the Hawks, I gave them a B+, just because Kuminga's young, and I think, he could be something for them. Like, I think he might end up being a good player, And then the last deal is the Wizards. They traded Chris Middleton, A.J. Johnson, Tyus Jones, Marvin Bagley, and then 2 late first-round picks for Anthony Davis, Jaden Harvey, D'Angelo Russell, who I don't even think is going to play for them, and Dante Exum. And on this one, I gave the Wizards an A-. I actually like that they're trying to trade for AD. They got Trae Young as well. Like, they could be a sneaky team next year. You got Sarr on the roster. You got Trey Johnson on the roster. Like, they could be sneaky. And basically, if you look at it, because they traded Chris Middleton, they traded Kuzma and they worked their way up to AD. I think it's like that's good roster management, it seems like. Now, obviously, we know AD might not ever be healthy. He's not playing the rest of the season, but they could be a decent team to watch out for next year. Like, it could be a fun little squad. And then the 2 late first-round picks, like, I think it's OKC's picks, and I can't remember the other team, but they're most likely going to be later picks. And then the Mavs, so I give the Wizards an A-, and the Mavs, I want to give them an F, but just because they never should have traded Luka in the first place. But that you can't do that. So I'm just giving them a B- because they got, a decent return. Like 2 firsts is decent, and AJ Johnson could be something. Chris Middleton, he's solid. I don't remember if he's on an expiring or not, but I just think they never should have traded Luka, and they got really lucky getting Cooper Flag. Otherwise, they'd be screwed. So, honestly, we're just going to keep it at an F because they never should have traded Luka. So, whatever. AJ Johnson could be something, but it's just – and the 2 first-round picks are about the only thing I would care about at that point if I'm a Mavericks fan. And that's it for the podcast. I want to say thank you for tuning in. It's a little bit of a shorter episode today, but stay tuned for episodes 4 and 5 because I've promised a guest appearance, and that's going to be happening very soon. It was going to be this episode. Things happen with scheduling. It's no big deal. Work around things. I'm super excited for the next couple episodes. It's going to be really fun. We're going to probably talk more about the Olympics, and thanks for tuning around. Drop a comment. You can email me at fromthehashpodcast@gmail.com if you have any questions. I'd love to do a mailbag or something like that in the future. And I'm Luke Woodyard, and I'm signing off.